Good everyone, this is Rita Joy and welcome to the Unbox Your Gift podcast. How to turn your passion into a profession. And it's a very somber episode today, mainly because, or completely because, of what has occurred in Christchurch in New Zealand. The mass shooting that took place in 2 mosques. And one of the things that I realized that has happened in Australia where I live, and our next door neighbour, which is New Zealand, is that this occurrence, you know, usually when you hear of anything at this magnitude, it's far away from where you are. But what has really driven into the hearts of everyone is that if it can happen in Christchurch, New Zealand, a small, quiet city, then it can happen anywhere. And that's really the take-home message, that life is now. We've all known that, but most certainly not. Life is not guaranteed, because it's when things that you don't really think, or when you've always have felt it happens from afar, and it comes to close into your proximity, you get very somber, you get very reflective. And one of the reasons why I started Unbox Your Gift was for that reason, that I wanted to know for myself, well, what is my gift? What is that thing that I could do? What's my gift, and how do I contribute beyond myself, beyond my own self-interest? Which is why I called it Unbox Your Gift, because everyone has a gift. I believe that we all have a gift, and it's our responsibility to unravel, unearth that, and unbox that as we journey through this labyrinth of life. And that's the whole crux of it. And it really hit home, because one of the reasons why I started Unbox Your Gift is, to myself, my thinking was, and still is, that if we all did that thing that we are uniquely good at, if we all just did that part, that piece, whether we are an electrician or we are a photographer or we are a builder or we're a doctor, if we just did that one piece, then we can now add to the contribution collectively. Because those who need to lead in countries of power will be there, not because of money, not because of status, not because of position, not because of ego, but they will be in positions of power because they have a genuine, deep-rooted reason to serve that. And if somebody wants to take pictures and be a photographer, they have a deep reason to want to add value to the world through the art of pictures. If somebody, the crux of it is that how you take a passion and turn to a profession comes from this fact that if we all just did that, if we were all capable of finding that thing that we are good at and contributing it with that vehicle of that thing that we're good at, then collectively as a whole, we can progress better. We can do work that matters beyond our self-interest. It doesn't mean we don't make a living. We do work that's beyond our self-interest. But most importantly, that we do work minus our ego, minus position, minus status, minus power. And I really believe that, and there has nothing in my time has become more evident of that than right now, of what's happening in the world, in the current climate of what's happened and what's shaken the world with the massacre and the terror that took place in Christchurch. And I just want to give you an example of how when we all deploy that thing that we are good at, if you're thinking or you're feeling helpless, that's very natural to feel. But I feel that that becomes somewhat diminished or alleviated, that feel of helplessness, when we can deploy that thing that we're good at and we just give that to the world. We just work with that in the world. So let me just give you an example. And this is an example of comments that I'm reading online. Now, there was a picture of Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern, who is, like, honest to God, she is the most amazing person, leader / where do you start? She's just incredible. I mean, compared to the current climate of people that take up space in the media and take up space on social. I mean, she is like literally a breath of fresh air with her style of inclusivity, with her leadership, with the way she has handled a terror situation and has brought her nation together. And as a result, has given the breathing space for so many other people in other nations who feel they lack that leadership. She has risen and given it. But let me just give you an example. Now, she is an example of how she has absolutely used what she is good at and brought it into the forefront, because there was a picture taken of her. Now, let me just describe it to you. And it's a picture that, you know, she is wearing the hijab, the headscarf, and she is meeting with the people, the relatives of the victims who passed away in this terror attack. And she's listening to the stories. She's got the hijab on, and her face is one of absolute grief, sorrow, and sadness. And there's a photographer who has taken this picture of her, who is probably what it seems like standing away or outside, and through a window has taken this image and has captured this moment of Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern, who is just grief-stricken by the situation as she is listening to stories. And it's a moment in time that this photographer has captured. And I was reading, and Michael Moore, who, as you know, he's a documentary filmmaker, he's put up this picture, you know, saying this is what a true leader looks like. She puts on a scarf, she puts on the hijab, says that they are us, announced the gun laws were going to change, and called out white supremacists, haters, and Donald Trump. She's 38, and making the point that it's a female. And the reason why I'm saying this, guys, is because this is how, when we, and I'm talking about myself as well here, when we work towards a profession, a contribution that's minus ego, minus position, minus power, minus money, when we just work for the full strength of making a contribution, that's when our work matters. That's when our contribution matters. And I'm going to read a comment from someone who has a New Zealander who has made a comment just from the general public about her wearing the hijab and that photo of her looking so grief-struck from this photographer who has captured this moment. And the person says in the comments, talking of Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern, she is phenomenal in every way. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone, but this is a comment that's coming. When your tangerine tyrant and his insincere condolences asked and offered what kind of support the US could provide, Jacinta Ardern replied, sympathy and love for all Muslim communities. What struck me about this comment, guys, is the fact that Jacinta Ardern is a Prime Minister in New Zealand. This comment comes from someone who has not met her, but understands the fact that this woman is doing her life's work. She has found something that she is good at, namely representing New Zealand, being in a position of leadership and leading it, because her work doesn't involve her putting on a show, her trying to get the next level of votes. The sincerity, authenticity, kindness, compassion, empathy is just exuding from a natural place. And that's why it's so important that when we do the work that we have been gifted to do, when we can find our own individual gift and work with that, that's when we actually are able to bring to the forefront our contribution. And for some, it's being in a position of leadership. It's for some leading a country. It's for some leading a community. It's for some it's being an electrician. For some, it's being a director. For some, it's whatever that is. But when we come from a position of working on our gift and delivering from that, and we do it with a knowing that we're not trying to get anything, but just to give. And this is exactly, Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern is just an example of unboxing one's gift, of having a gift, and now she's in unknown territory. New Zealand has never had any case like this. It's new. New Zealand has never had a terror attack before. And what she is now in her leadership capacity, she is in new territory. She's in the unknown. No prime minister before her had ever experienced. So she's just trying to, find the space as she's going. And like we all do in our gift, we're just trying to find what we have to do, how we serve, how we continue to move forward in uncharted territories. And that's part of the unboxing your gift way, is that she's unboxing her gift by going into uncharted territories, doesn't know, what's going to happen or what will come out of this, but she's just working with the process, just working with it and trying to make meaning and trying to make a difference and trying to make a contribution and holding everyone's heart in her policies, in her hands and in her words. And that's what we're all doing at the same time when we are unboxing our own gift. Trying to just charter uncharted territories for us individually, which is part of the way of looking at what you have and delivering it to the world, because it's going to change. The landscape will change. What's happened in New Zealand is a perfect example that when we recruit our gift and we position and transition that into the work that really brings us alive, now we have a force of humanity which can really conquer our differences, can really conquer our own fears, our own feelings of unworthiness, our own feelings of can I do it. That's when it comes alive. In fact, guys, the picture that I'm describing, that I was describing of Prime Minister Ardern being taken outside through a window, and a photographer was obviously outside having taken this picture in this moment of grief, which was captured, somebody made a comment about the photographer who took this picture. And let me read it out to you. It's just beautiful. And the comment reads, "Somewhere in New Zealand, there is a photographer saying to him or herself, 'I did it.' After years of toil, millions of frames, and countless lost opportunities, I took the photo. The one that went round the world. The one that, the shot that will forever be mine. The photo that defines a point in time. The photograph that tells a story that really means something and gives hope to a world full of madness." Isn't that just incredible? That is the definition of having a gift and unboxing it. We're seeing it live right now with Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern. We're seeing it live with the work of this one photographer who captured a moment in time. And the world is sharing this picture because it expresses the views, the emotions of what everybody is feeling. And this photographer is the person, he or she is responsible for giving voice to a world who's feeling quite voiceless in what to do or what to feel or how to communicate the emotions, the ocean of emotion that we're feeling. And yet this photographer has managed to capture it in a picture and it's circulating around the world. And this person who doesn't know the photographer, who's just making a random comment, is noticing the gift that this person brings to the table as a photographer in this tragedy. And that's unboxing one's gift. That somebody, after years of toil and millions of pictures and putting it in frames, and finally there's this one picture that defines a moment in time. The photograph that tells a story that really means something and gives hope to a world full of madness. And I wanted to just dedicate this episode to the definition of what it means to find what we are individually good at and unboxing it. And I have to say, this morning I was at the gym and I was listening to Wayne Dwyer. And I don't listen to Wayne Dwyer quite often, but there was this random audio and he said something that struck me, and I didn't want to listen to anything else after that because I just wanted to hold on and just reflect on his words. And he said that he said that one of the things that he used himself as an example, and he said that he used to drink quite a bit, and it was 20, at the time of giving this talk, it was 20 years since he had had a drink. And the crowd cheered. And he said, And if you had said to me 20 years ago that you will never have a drink for the next 20 years, he said, I would have just gone and taken a drink right then and there. He said that you don't think of it in 20 years. You just think, what step can I take next? You just take it a day at a time. Whatever it is that you're working on, if you're trying to find your gift, if you're trying to find that thing that you're good at, if you're looking at unboxing it, which is in the positions of like the Jacinta Ardens and this photographer, that you're in the passion, but you're looking at unboxing it. You're trying to find where your position is, where your unique flavor is, where your unique contribution is. Wherever it is, Wayne Dwyer's advice was you just don't think 20 years from now because it'll overwhelm you. Think I'm just going to take this moment. I'm just going to take today and put one step forward. And then I'm going to take another day, because it's the small things that make the biggest difference. It's the small things that make the biggest difference. Is Jacinta Ardern wearing a hijab that made a difference to a community that was just grief-stricken? It was Jacinta Ardern making the small difference of hugging people that had not been seen before and calling it what it was, calling it a terrorist attack, and not using words and phrases that kind of jarred and jabbed with the truth. She just came, the simple things that have given life to her leadership, that have given life to her work in a way on an international scale. She was good enemy. I mean, I love Jacinta Ardern before before this whole thing happened, before this tragic event happened. I mean, when she became a leader of her party, or when she became leader of New Zealand, she went to the indigenous people of New Zealand and sought their permission. Even though she was elected, she went and sought their permission to lead New Zealand. Who does that? The person who is working minus ego, minus position, minus money, minus status. That's who. And when you and I speak to myself, when you and I can get into a position where we work minus what we get, but in terms of what we can give, that's when we are able to really, as a collective species, as a collective whole, are able to contribute. And she's a beacon of just complete hope, a beacon of complete integrity. She is a role model for not only current leaders, if they would take the actual role modeling that she's giving, but to those of us who are looking at a female who is a mother who is in office. She gave birth to her little girl while in office. Now, I'm just talking quite at length about Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern, but it's because she's just such a huge example right now in this very moment about a person who is unboxing her gift. And as she's doing that, she is giving hope and light to those of us who need it most, namely the Muslim community, namely the New Zealanders, namely anyone outside of New Zealand or being Muslim who is just looking for a leader with compassion, with love, who just simply cares. And she cares because she's doing the work that she was put on the earth to do. And doesn't mean it stops here. I mean, in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, she will probably be doing something different, completely different. As she evolves, so too will her passion and her gifts. As this photographer who took the picture. And, like this photographer took the picture, and this random comment on the internet who was talking about this person's gift of how in this moment in time, it just speaks volumes that when we find that thing that lights us up, that when we find the thing that gives us meaning, it allows someone else to look at that work and inspires. What does inspire mean? To breathe in life. It gives life to another person to find theirs and to pursue theirs. So just by not only what a gift does to our own self, but just by delivering our own gift, that in itself, the act of that, enables someone else to find and inspires them to find their own. And even though we may be striving to find that passion of ours, that gift of ours, are being striving in the position of unboxing it, just the act alone, the pursuit of it alone, the intention of it alone is the basis of allowing someone else to find theirs. And when we do it that way, I personally believe we're going to have more Jacinta Ardens. We're going to have more of these photographers. We're going to have more of professions that I haven't even touched on, that there are so many in the world who are working to just do that thing that they were put on earth to do. And that's a big call. But what am I put on earth to do in this very moment? And then in the next moment, and then tomorrow, and that's by just being in engagement with life, we soon find it. But when we're sitting down and pondering, and when we're sitting down and kind of still scratching our head, not knowing what to do, that's not allowing us to pursue the greatest awareness of ourselves. But when we're engaging with life, we're engaging with experiences, we're engaging with people we didn't know, when we're engaging with communities we'd never spoken to before, when we are in engagement and we are actively participating in something in society, a sport, an event, a community thing, that is giving breath, that is giving flavor to our life experience, and by that is how we find our gift to unbox. But when we do the same thing over and over again, or when we're bored, but when we're sitting on the couch, when we're watching the same programs over and over again, and we're still frustrated, that's a sign that we need to get more engaged, find more participation in finding that gift and unboxing it. So I wanted to share that, guys. I wanted to really give life to that notion that to find your gift, to unbox it, comes from that thing that brings you alive, and it brings you alive, you and me both. It brings us alive, minus ego, minus money, minus position, minus status, minus power. It brings us alive because we are engaged, we are activated. We are activated with the thing that we can contribute, that thing that is ours, uniquely ours, and then we're giving that to the world. And that is the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves, and in turn, to be able to deliver to the world. So wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing, I hope this episode has meant something. I hope this has allowed you to feel inspired, or has given you a way to find that thing that you're good at, and to feel compelled to do so, and know that there are examples all around you right now in this very moment of individuals who are going to demonstrate, and through this tragic event, why they do what they do, not because they're talking about it, but because their actions speak louder than their words. And notice those things and be inspired by that, because that's when we need the world the most. That's when we need your gift the most, when we least expect it. Wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing, my advice to myself and to you is that life is a gift. And the past 72 hours have proven that more than anything. That life is a precious gift. And our work every day is to unbox it.